country. They are losing $500 million yearly, American dollars. Isn't this a sounding bell for Guyana? To tell our nation to be careful how they are signing our oil deals and oil contracts? Yes, it sure will be. Join me on the Glenn Lall Show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:20, and there are lots more for me to tell you. Thank you.
You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited.
Good evening to one and all, and welcome to another edition of the Glenn Lall Show right here on Kaieteur Radio. Thank you for joining us. My name is Shakima Day, and I will be your moderator for this evening. So before we get into the program and I hand you over to the man of the hour, Mr. Glenn Lall, a few housekeeping matters. Now you can call us on 226-7453. We will be taking questions from you, our listeners and viewers. You can text us or WhatsApp us on 622-222, and we are also live on Facebook on Kaieteur Radio's Facebook page. Let me just repeat the numbers for you. 226-7453. You can text us or WhatsApp us on 622-222, and we're also live on Facebook on the Kaieteur Radio's Facebook page. So we want to hear from you. After we are finished with our discussion, we want to hear your comments, your thoughts, your questions, so that we can help you better understand what is going on with your oil wealth. So over to you, Mr. Lall, and just jump right into the discussion.
Well, thank you, Shakima. Thank you, Josh. Good evening, Guyana. A friend said to me today, it's better to know and be disappointed than to never know and always wonder. And when he said that to me, I was like, wow, all Guyana is in the wonderland as to their wealth and what's going on with their politicians. And having heard that, I remember a quote from a great soul that walked this earth. His name is Mahatma Gandhi. He said, corruption is like a disease. Eats away at the foundation of people's faith in government, undermines the security and instability of nations. Corruption, corruption, corruption. Good night, Guyana. I hope you keep those words in mind from a great soul who would have fought for the rights of poor people of this world. As a matter of fact, Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther King took a page out of Gandhi, and he was able to liberate the great United States of America. Tonight, I was abandoned by my colleagues Kiana and Kemol. They abandoned me. But I don't want to disappoint you and left you alone. So I have asked for backup, and Shakima came in the studio with me and said, boss, I'll back you up. And I'm thankful for that. Thank you, Shakima.
You're welcome.
I I think I'll make it through with this discussion with the help of the listeners and their questions. What do you say, Guyana? Yes, I think I could hear you guys through the radio that you will be by my side to help me and to back me up. Tonight's frank discussion, and tell it like it is, I want to focus on the field development plan. You must know about it because that is where billions of US dollars is spending, in which you and I had no say with these oil companies. And all of these spendings, Guyana, are being given the okay so fast, so quick by our leaders. It's like our lovely child jumps and say, Mom or Dad, can I have a candy? You run to the fridge door or something like that and you get it right away and give them. Well, that's how our leaders have been giving the okay and the approval and signing off these billions like candies, not realizing that they are shortchanging our few cents and our few dollars and our good life. And guess what, Guyana? While they're doing this, they are extremely silent. In fact, I believe some of them in hiding because we have been trying to get some of them and you can't find them. So I want to touch on this FDP, which is called Field Development Plan. I want to talk a little about what it is, what it does, what it means to us, and how you can get con in a sense where we can lose billions of dollars. And guess what, Guyana? When we would have spoken about this in the years gone by, all you hear is fancy languages by oil companies trying to confuse us. That's what they do. And that's what they tell our leaders to tell us. Fancy languages. Why they sign this and why they approve it so quickly. So a field development plan is the setting up of the stage for bringing up your oil. If we don't question and authorize these spendings, my friend, my fellow citizens of Guyana, you're gone for China. You know what I mean, right? You would get robbed in the bright daylight. Yes, don't okay price. You will be, if you don't, when you okay price like that, without checking, without authorizing, you'll be breathing through your ears rather than your nose with the inflated prices that they will throw on you. And guess what, Guyana? None of your governments had a say in the prices thrown at us for Lisa 1, for Lisa 2, Lisa 3, which is Payara. Let me share two examples so that you guys can follow me on this field development plan, what it is. I have said this, I think, in a video or on a program. A field development plan is like a house plan. You know, you want to build a house. The first thing you do, you draw the plan. The second thing you do is that you look for a contractor, and you negotiate with the contractor what price he's going to give you to build this house. And you agree or you don't agree. And you buy your own materials or you approve the materials for the house. The zinc sheet, the wood, the concrete, everything you authorize. You send him, go to Gafoor. Gafoor is selling cement for $1,400 a sack and buy buy the cement there. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like that. So Exxon now, they're setting up there and they're building and we have no say how much they're paying for what.
Is that so?
That is exactly so. And who does business like this? Nobody. You know, I was thinking about it, in which I found a very simple scenario that resembles the field development plan better than a house. A water well.
Explain that.
A water well, the well that we get water from, is similar to that of the oil companies out there. What do you do? First thing you do with a water well, you find out the place. You identify the place. You dig the well. If the water come up dirty or if the water isn't right, you move and you go and dig another spot. And when you find that spot, right, you say, well, okay, this is where I will be bringing up the water from. So let's say me and you, Shakima, have this business. And we say we're going to run it 50-50. Just like ExxonMobil in Guyana, right? Now, let me ask you, would you allow me to spend for go dig this well to find this clean water without I telling you what costs or without you knowing what bill I'll be throwing at you?
No, sir.
Well, that is where we are with the oil company.
Oh, wow.
So when we find the water, the next stage is like you find oil. What is the next stage with the well?
Production.
The next stage for the water well is that you start building the pump station.
In preparation
Okay.
for production.
In preparation for production. Then you gotta get an engine, the pump itself, to bring up the water. You gotta get pipes to throw down there to bring up the water. Now, if I go buy pipes, I go buy the engine, I start setting up this pump station without your approval, would you accept my bills that I throw at you?
No. Why would I do that?
That's the point. That's the point. Would I make a big reservoir, a huge reservoir that will cost billions, and then hand you the bill without you say, Glenn, hey, how much is all this thing will cost? Well, that is the exact scenario where Guyana is.
So Exxon just hand.
With ExxonMobil.
Okay.
With the I am building this water well. I am doing everything. I ain't tell you nothing, and I come and I throw bill at you, and say this is what I spend here, and you okay in that. Who on earth will okay something like that?
So can you explain some of the bills that Guyana was thrown?
Beautiful, the bills. One of the most expensive thing in the field development plan so far in Lisa 1 is the FPSO. That's a floating ship. It's like a floating ship. It's like a hull boat. You know what's a hull boat?
Yes, I know. Explain that for the listeners.
A hull boat, you know, we fetch pumpkin in a hull boat. We fetch arrows, we fetch rice. It's a big boat, it has a big hull inside. You just throw everything in
you
there
can store the stuff.
and you go.
Okay.
Right. But the difference between a hull boat and the ship that they build, that they throw out there, that they call FPSO, is a floating ship, floating production ship. That ship up there, like the water well, the engine, they up top the ship. Just like how the engine they up top the soil for bring up the water, that engine they up top the FPSO.
Okay.
And the pipe run down from that straight down where the oil is coming from. You see?
Yeah.
So when they pump the oil up, it goes into that hull that the tank is, that the engine is sitting on. And from there now, when the tank is full, the big cargo ships come in and they just transfer it into that ship and they go on with it. Now, that cost, that FPSO cost, when the first one came, it came at a cost of 1.14 billion US dollars.
Wow.
And you know, when you look around, it's not even a brand new one. It's one they pick up in somewhere where they finish with oil. They just pick it up, paste it up, patch it up, and they bring it here. And they give you a bill for 1.1 billion US dollars.
And this is just for the first one.
That's just for the first one. The second one, we get the same size, same work they do, same amount they bring up, same money. The third one does a little more, and that moved from 1.2 to 2 billion US, which is per hour. That they just approve. They just approve that.
And did they explain why the costs increased?
They are not, our government, our leaders aren't asking anything, aren't saying anything to us. If we don't ask these questions, you don't get any answers. As a matter of fact, we didn't even know. As a matter of fact, Guyana didn't even know Shakima. Kevin, we didn't even know that they already ordered the Payara FPSO.
Before it was approved?
No approval. These guys just, it's like me, I go in ahead and spend. I know you have to pay me. I am set to rob you. And when I throw the bill at you, you got to take it. And they went ahead and approved. And guess who they're buying these things from, Shakima?
I don't know.
A set of con men. Yep. Who are known for bribing government officials all over the world. We just carried a story today, in which the same company that billing these ships for us, they were in bribery scandal. They were investigated for bribing government officials in Brazil, in Angola, in a few other countries. I don't remember the names. And guess what they did? They run quickly and settled the matter. They paid hefty fines in hundreds of millions in US dollars. And these are the same people we are doing business with here right now. And you notice our leaders are
Very silent.
I can't hear you.
Very silent.
I didn't hear you.
Very silent.
Very silent. Right now in Switzerland, Switzerland started their own investigation on the same company, although they would have settled all these things, against the employees of that company. Because the employees gained, and they were part of the corruption scandal. And why were they bribing these people? They were bribing them so that they can inflate the cost. Let's say me and you and Kevin have a business, okay, and we decide to buy one of the engine, okay, and who we buying it from, we give him on a change, we give him $1 million, right, and we say shut him out, inflate the bill for 25 million more. What do you think we're doing to Kevin? Robbing the man.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, this is what they have been doing all around the world, and they get caught up. So now the Netherlands says we want to investigate the workers that were behind all these bribery scandals all across the world.
Wow.
And here we are sitting down like lame ducks, wondering and hoping and praying that, oh my God, how much, all over I go, Glen, oil coming. Glen, oil coming, we'll be living like kings and queens. Little do they know, nothing is coming their way. Not a single cent coming their way.
Okay.
When you look around, when you look around and you watch Guyana, I looked at a little introduction and a little piece of investigative report done today. I'm going to bring that maybe Friday.
Is that the
on-
documentary?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
A little documentary a group of international journalists did, including Guyana. That includes Guyana. It is mind-boggling and it's sickening to hear what these people say about Guyana, where Guyana will be since 2019, what it will become in 2020, and where are we? The US dollars, instead it go to 1 to the US dollars, it keep going up, it may be 250 very soon. And that is the boom the world is talking about. Guyana will inherit. Guyana will see. See what? Nothing. With the type of corruption in the oil sector, my friends, Guyana, you need to understand, if you don't speak up, if you don't stand up, if you don't be loud with your voices, you will be wondering what is happening. I always remember I read a study a few years back in which the analysis came out and says that this world has almost 7 billion people. 5% of that 7 billion make things happen. 10% watch things happen. And the 85% is wondering what is happening. And that is where I am seeing my beautiful country Guyana will be very soon, if we don't take them out of that wonderland, if we don't educate them, if we don't teach them, if we don't let them hear, let them see, let them know what they have and what they are getting. And I want to repeat, they talked about $25,000 to every household, help, government giving y'all. And I heard they went in Canal number 2. And if you see the crowd there, jumping up and hollering, me ain't get, me ain't get, me ain't get, oh God, are you not going to give me? And when I listened to the guy that tell me the story, I wondered, I said, oh my God, God help Guyana. Look how the leaders have us ganging up in crowds like animals, hustling to get $25,000 per household per year. It tells me how hungry, how gullible, where we are as a nation, that they could be fighting each other for merely $25,000. Only if they had known that, you know what, $25,000 they should be getting a day. Each citizen should be getting a day from the wealth we have. Listen to the world, what the world has compared us to, and you will understand where we are and where we should be.
Okay, Mr. Lall. At that point, we will just take a quick commercial break and we will be right back. Do stay tuned.
Oil black, a heavy load. Oil black, a heavy load. Oil black, rocker, we back, oh Guyana. Oil black, rocker, we back, oh. Oil black, rocker, we back, oh Guyana. Oil black, rocker, we back, oh. Kaieteur and Kanji black sell out cheap. Oil black, rocker, we back, oh. When the story bust out, they were weeping and gnashing of teeth. Black rocker, we back, oh. When I asked Robert, he said, no, not me. I'll black rocker, we back, oh. The people who buy the block, them I never see. I'll black rocker, we back, oh. I say, Robert boy, what was on your mind? I'll black rocker, we back, oh. He said, don't ask me, it's me liar them who sign. I'll black rocker, we back, oh. Uncle Donald, shame on you. I'll black rock Kabibako. I never thought you would have done that too. I'll black rock Kabibako. Trotman is where you're there. Trotman, what you gonna say? Arman is where you're there. Arman, what you gonna say? As a Guyanese, I regret. Like we ain't got nothing to forget. Jack Dio, stop the talk. It's time to walk the walk. Oil black rocker, we back, oh Guyana. Oil black rocker, we back, oh. Oil black rocker, we back, oh Guyana. Oil black rocker, we back,
I'll black broca we back Guyana. I'll black broca we back Boone. You gotta play back that song, man.
Oil black, a heavy load. Oil black, a heavy load. Oil black rocker, we back, oh Guyana. Oil black rocker, we back, oh. Oil black rocker, we back, oh Guyana. Oil black rocker, we back, oh. Kaieteur and Kanji black sell out cheap. Oil black rocker, we back, oh. When the story bust out, they were weeping and gnashing of teeth. Black rocker, we back, oh. When I asked Robert, he said, nah, not me. Oil black rocker, we back, oh. The people who buy the block, them I never see. Black rocker, we back, oh. I say, Robert boy, what was on your mind? Black rocker, we back, oh. He said, don't ask me, is me liar them who sign? Black rocker, we back, oh. Uncle Donald, shame on you. I'll black rocker, we back, oh. I never thought you would have done that too. I'll black rocker, we back, oh. Trotman is where you're there. Trotman, what you gonna say? Arman is where you're there. Arman, what you gonna say? As a Guyanese, I regret. Like we ain't got nothing to forget. Jack Dio, stop the talk. It's time to walk the walk. Oil black rocker, we back, oh Guyana. Oil black rocker, we back, oh. Oil black rocker, we back, oh Guyana. Oil black rocker, we back, oh.
Guyana, I have a question for you. Would you allow a man to come to your birthday party, cut your cake, and share it with you? No. You have to cut your cake and share it with them. Well, our leaders in this country did exactly that with our oil blocks. The oil companies come here, cut our cake, and sharing it with us. That's not all. They are throwing the crumbs at us. Not the crumbs that fall on the table. The crumbs that fall off the table. And guess what, Guyana? Them sending you the bill for the cake. This is not only happening in the oil sector, Guyana. This is happening in our gold, our timber, our bauxite, and every other resources we have in this country. Guyana, I am freaking upset. What about you? All right, we are being conned every day. Are you ready for me? Thank you. All right, earlier, guys, I told you that I was abandoned by my colleagues.
Yes, he did.
I just saw one walked in the studio, and I smiled at him. So I needed to let you know that Kemol is with us, has joined us. So Kemol, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Good night, everyone. I think we can get into some of the questions now that the viewers are sending us.
Mm-hmm.
One person says, Mr. Glenn, as the businessman that you are, would you say the royalties for our oil are more important than the profit sharing? I don't understand as it relates to oil.
Let me answer the question. Yes, I thank you for that question. Royalty always the best way to go. Profit sharing is not. You should throw profit away, because in the profit in small businesses, yes, you can take royalty, and in small businesses you can settle for profit sharing, but in the oil sector, in the gold sector, bauxite and timber, huge large commodities where you have humongous expenses, you don't go for profit sharing. Profit sharing is just to make the deal look good and smell good. It's a con. Most countries, all the developed countries with smart leaders, settle for royalty alone. Royalty comes with no costs, and it's free from any cost whatsoever. It comes as you bring up your oil. If they bring up 100 barrel, whatever royalty you settle for, 2%, 5%, that's what you get off the bat. You don't concern about what they spend, how much they spend, when them spend, why them spend. That's not your business. Let them do their business. All you concern with is collect your royalties, like gold. The foreign companies in there, they're mining for gold. At the end of the month, they declare 100 ounce. The gold board gets 7%, they get 7 ounce. And gold board doesn't care what you spend, what you bring in, what you do. And that's how huge businesses operate. If I had a business, that's what I will settle for. As for the royalty, they lower the royalty, and they increase the profit to make you believe, well, yes, it's big profit you're getting. But profit you get nothing but profit, because you're dealing with con men, you're dealing with smart men, you're dealing with scavengers in business, partners in business. If you don't have, and very few, you have decent people who you can partner with. If you're dealing with a stranger, you're dealing with a scavenger. So you're better off settle for royalty alone. In the back in the days, the word royalty came from the royal family. What they did, they settled for royalty only. When they had owned Guyana, whoever wants to come for a gold, they said, give me my royalty. And that's it. So everybody, smart people settle for royalty, not profit sharing.
Okay. One person wants to know, why is it that the president is so silent on all these developments in our oil and gas sector?
Well, I wouldn't say that our president is silent. I would say all the politicians, including the PNC and the AFC, they are all silent. Before you came, I talked about that. Not a single word you hear from them. All you hear is, we okay this, we approve this. It's approvals and approvals and approvals all the time. That's all you hear. And you have to ask them to hear approval was given. That's what all you hear. They're quiet. And you want to know why they're quiet? Oh my gosh. Let me repeat again what oil companies do when they first arrive on shore. They line the pockets of the political leaders. And the next thing they do, they create instability, chaos. And while we fight among ourselves, you give them room to just fetch what they have to fetch away. So their silence, you read through the line, and you answer that question for yourself, Guy. Thanks for the question.
Okay. There is a listener who wants to know what happens to all of the infrastructure that is out there once the project is over? Does it fall into Guyana's hands, or do the oil companies walk away with it?
That's another beautiful question. Those are things we paid for.
Right.
Those are things we paid for, and that comes on abandonment. When you abandon the field, you finish, you go. They have the abandonment clause. We don't have that. We don't have nothing to safeguard and protect us. A matter of fact, those FPSOs that I talked about earlier, Shakima, we didn't buy them. We didn't buy them. We okay the costs, right? We okay the 2 billion for Payara cost to bring it here. Exxon is saying that they took a loan, that money come from a loan to buy that. So we okay the cost. We have to pay the loan to which we had no say. We have no say in what percentage we're paying for the loan. And they say in the contract that this FPSO will come to Guyana, and Guyana has an option after a few years. Right now it's here and we are leasing that FPSO. You hear that? We are leasing it. It's like paying a rent. And after 5 years, 5 or 10 years, you have an option to buy it. Now, what are you going to buy it with? It means that you will have to lease it for the rest of your life. Because if I give you option to come live in my house for $20,000 a month, and you really making $50,000 a month, you think you could ever buy that house for $10 million? Correct. So this thing is so dirty. The transactions is so nasty. It's so much against us, Guyanese. It only favors the oil companies. They will be making every single cent. It's like the contract Ghana signed recently, in which they're losing $500 million a day to the oil company. The country is losing it, but that money is going into the oil company because they signed the contract saying that I will take all the natural gas every day from you, when they can only use 10%. So what I have to do? Throw it away. But I still have to pay the people to bring it up. And the people making their money, big money. That 500 million must have cost them 100 million. So they're making profit on something that you own, and you collecting it, you're paying for it, and you throwing it away.
All right, so before we continue with the discussion, let me just remind the listeners and viewers that you can call us into 226-7453, or you can text us or WhatsApp us on 622-222. And we're also live on Facebook on Kaieteur Radio's Facebook page, so you can send your questions and your comments there. Over to you, Mr. King.
Continuing to answer the question that person just sent in, I wanted to open a part of the Stabroek Block Agreement just to have the right provision read out. It says, upon expiry or termination of this agreement, the contractor shall, upon notification by the minister, deliver to the minister, free of charge, in good order and condition, all installations, works, pipelines, pumps, casings, tubings, engines, and other equipment and machinery or assets of a fixed or permanent nature.
So we don't have to be.
Well, we were
paying.
No.
Let me get on to that. I'm so happy that you read that. You hear the contract
Yeah,
sign?
explain that
That
part.
when they finish, everything will be handed over to Guyana. Now, what are you going to do with it? You don't need it. You when your oil is finished, what are you going to do with it? You understand what I'm saying? But they put that clause in there to make Guyana feel nice. Oh, all these things you're paying for, you will receive it, you'll get it back. But you have no use for it. It's rotting. All over the world, these things are left with those same clause inside. Oil companies finish the oil, leave all this equipment out there. Guyana doesn't even have a boat to go there. We didn't even have a helicopter to go there. To God, you tell me, how can we move those things? And if we do move them, what are we going to do with them? Who's going to buy them? Nobody. So these old FPSOs that they brought out there, what did you think? Where did they get it from? They went to places that that finish, in which they abandoned the area and left. And now they're going and must give the people them $10. 10 Guyana dollars, I'm going to use it, okay? As a matter of fact, the countries were glad for you to remove them because they become an obstacle in our riverine. So you were glad to say, hey, come take it. There are many countries that begs you to come take. A friend of mine in Canada offered us a boat, a nice, beautiful boat. And he told the government that this boat can run Parika to Wakanam. Just as big, almost big as Malali, more sophisticated, left abandoned and rotting. So the guy went and knows the politician. He said, listen, we can use this in Guyana. The guy said, go ahead and take it. He get on to the government here, and the government said, no, we don't want nothing. And I'm like, wow. Last week the guy told me that. So when you abandon these things, what are we going to do with it, King? You have nothing to do with it. It's like you having a combine and there's no rice. What do you do with the combine? You left it for rotten. And many combines I've seen rotten in garages, left and became obsolete.
One person says, and I need to parse this message properly because they use some very colorful language. It is so sad to see poor people are getting robbed in Guyana and the government is not doing anything. The president needs to put his foot down or get out of power.
No, it's not put foot down. Robbery, kick down door, snatching. Now they've gone from snatching your chain and your purse. These people are snatching umbrella from your hand now. And it will get worse than that because, you see, criminality comes from poverty, bro. When people are hungry, when people have to carry home food for their children and they can't do that, then they will resort to thieving. So it will not stop. It will only stop when our leaders start getting proper deals from our wealth. Proper deals. I explained a few days ago how the Canadian came here, got our mining land, sold our mining land for $323 million US to a Chinese company. The Chinese company come here, took over it, and the Canadian walk away selling our asset for $323 million US and gone away. What did we get? Nothing. What did that guy get who's snatching the chain? Nothing. You know what we get? We have to go and borrow back from that $323 million, part of that to build a harbor bridge so that can settle lives, ease some of the stress and headaches the travelers from across the road have when the day come. We got to go borrow that and pay interest upon that. So that's the dilemma we find ourselves in, Guyana.
Mr. Lall, you said something that criminality comes from poverty. There is a very different kind of criminality that occurs in the oil and gas sector.
Oh, you're talking about greed now.
Yes.
Oh, you're talking about greed now. Well, I just explained what's happening, what SBM Offshore, the company in Netherlands that is building our ships out there, how much corruption they're in. They are in corruption, right? With inflated contracts and ships. That's a you call that what? White collar criminals. Those are white collar criminality that goes on. So you have different levels of thieves on earth today. You have them, and they have fancy names for them. You ever see a white collar criminal in jail? No. Right now, as we speak, tomorrow I'm taking that. Tomorrow we are carrying that headline that a minister was taken to court in Nigeria for giving away 2 of their oil fields. Tomorrow that story is going. Wow. And the court was told that the minister didn't do nothing wrong. It's like we sitting down here, Guyana sitting down here, and say, well, like like the Vice President Jagdeo, Donald Ramatar didn't do anything wrong. There was no corruption in giving away the Kanji and the Kaieteur oil blocks. Like they own it, you know. They own our billion-dollar wealth. So they can do whatever they want to do with it and tell this nation and our people, our brothers and sisters sitting down quietly and accepting that Jagdeo says no corruption. He doesn't see any corruption in the air. It was done legally and legitimately. Then give away the Kaieteur and Kanji oil blocks to people that them say they don't know. To people they say only lawyers sign the contract. And when you ask them the lawyers, they can't remember the lawyers. They don't know who they give it to. But they give away our oil blocks for free to the people. And telling us that they don't know what's going on. So you read through the lines and understand what's playing out. This is why, Kemol, we will continue to have robberies and more thieving and kick down door in this land. Because your wealth is being siphoned off by our leaders, and their silence is speaking beyond volumes.
So one of the things I noticed in my reporting on corruption and these corrupt illegal payments that are being made by some of these companies in the sector is that what happens in the US, for instance, if they're caught making a corrupt payment, what they let them do is pay off a fine, but the company does not have to admit that it was engaged in a corrupt payment. It's just paying a fine based on an allegation. And so many of these corrupt companies that we've reported on, like Halliburton and so on, that have had to pay fines, they get off paying the fine, and then in a sense it doesn't go on their record because they're allowed to bid for contracts just as everybody else.
Yes, Kemol, different countries have different laws, and the US law, I don't know much about it, but if you plead guilty, they see with you. You know, if you commit an offense and you go to the court and you say yes, I'm guilty, they give you. But if they try you and find you guilty, then you get penalty. Then it goes on record and stuff like that. But skullduggery and corruption is always there. It's in the open. I just spoke about that in Brazil. They corrupt the Petrobras in Brazil, and they found them guilty, and they had to pay hundreds of millions of US dollars. And they still continue to be in the business. But you would hope that when it's like a contractor right here in Guyana, if they disbar them for not finishing a work or screwing up a job, they say, well, you're banned for 5 years. But the record is still there. It's up to you whether you want to take them or you don't take them. And most countries, they look for them. They look for the corrupt people and bring them because they know the business. They know how to spin the perks, and they know how to inflate and give you portion one side and drop you portion in Gibraltar and drop you portion in BVI and stuff like that. So corrupt people, they're all over. They're all over. They're not going anywhere. They're just lurking around. And I have seen some of them come back here. I have seen some of them come back in the government here. I am like, oh my God, look what's happening in this country. This country is doomed. This country is doomed. If they didn't come back with a change of heart, and they continue the same things they did, Guyana is doomed.
All right. One person wants to know, Glenn, when will these white-collar criminals in Guyana, disguised as politicians, go to jail? I just want to make a comment on that before you answer. Because we talk a lot about how oil companies are corrupt. And so I just want to know how Guyana is supposed to hold oil companies to the fire when we have such a long culture of politicians being engaged in corrupt practices but not going to jail for it.
I am so afraid, and I tell people that's my biggest fear in Guyana. Where would we find leaders like Mohammed Mahathir, leaders like Gandhi. Where are we going to find these people? They're nowhere to be found. You know, I'll tell you this. When the AFC came on board and they fight up and jump up and say they're going to bring about a change, alliance for change, I really thought that supporting them Guyana would have been breathing fresh air. And what happened? We all see what played out. We all know where we are. And today, as I speak, they are all silent. Silent. The whole world speaking about our wealth and corruption in the oil sector, and we are hearing nothing. All we are hearing is who transfer land to their mother and their father and their sister, and who collect how much acre and spin it over to a Chinese for $1. And this is what you're hearing. You're hearing the small corrupt things here, but a bigger picture that can transform this nation. Our goal with Omai and Aurora Gold Mines and the Chinese company and the Australian companies and our bauxite and our Baishan Lin. A matter of fact, Baishan Lin own half of Guyana. The PPP give Baishan Lin half of Guyana. Yes. The coalition went back and were able to scramble back a portion of Guyana. I recall doing a story in which the PPP gave them Guyana towards the south of Guyana. Land that was not supposed to be touched, interfered with, or sell or give away. The PPP give it to the Chinese. So you see what's going on, and this is scary. It is scary. It is scary for you guys as young people. You need to understand that your future is at stake. Hence, I keep saying, Guyana, you have to wake up. You have to wake up. You have to smell the coffee, and don't sleep away. This gentleman from Trinidad and Tobago, I love him when he said, Trinidad, you have that thing? Trinidad lost billions while they were sleeping at the wheels. Can you find that and play it again for me?
In the meantime, while Joshua gets the audio to play, there's a question online, and the person would like to know why the president speaks about transparency, but yet a lot of stuff about the Exxon deal is still hidden.
Everything is hidden. There's no transparency. There's little transparency here now. As a matter of fact, the Payara approval, that license supposed to be made public. Kiana asked the government for it, and they haven't made it public until now.
And they said they would make the findings public.
And exactly, you remember when they brought the Canadian woman, Alberta?
Yeah. And she
messed it up. She approved the Payara contract in 6 weeks, when a contract of that nature or that size would take 2 years to approve. It's like, oh, come on, get her. Yes, Guyana, it's okay, go ahead, sign. Give them. We are still waiting on our findings. Up to yesterday, I think Kiana spoke to the minister. And I didn't ask her what he said, but we are still to hear and to see that report.
So how do we hold the leaders accountable for all of this?
Like I'm saying, what else can we do but ask them and expose them? You said transparency. Well, we're asking to see this, that land us with almost $9 billion for Payara. I don't think Guyana will get $9 billion in 50 years, the way they're going.
All right, Joshua, play the audio.
And it would be a hell of a thing indeed if this nation of Trinidad and Tobago, 1.3 million people, totally total population about the size of one mid-sized American city, with resources of that nature in this business, that we end up in an IMF program for $200 million US, while we're leaking $1 billion out of our tax net. It would be a hell of a thing indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I have given this country the assurance that under my stewardship, Trinidad and Tobago will not go to the IMF at this time. And certainly, not for a pittance, while we are allowing our resources to go through our fingers because we were sleeping at the wheel.
At Guyana, you hear what the man says? He said it will be a hell of a thing to know that we got to go to the IMF for $200 million through a program when we have billions worth slipping through our fingers while we were sleeping at the wheel. I never forget those words. Since I heard that video, I played that video and it's stuck in my memory. That's what I want you to hear, Guyana. That's a leader. And guess what, Guyana? I did many stories on that man. I recall 2 Sundays, I put his picture on the front page and what he said. But Guyana, still asleep. Please, I'm begging you, wake up. Wake up. You have a future. You have to stand up for your children's future. You have to stand up for future generations. The way the leaders are running the affairs of this nation, you will not benefit a good life, much less that of your children and children's future. So please, Guyana, do we have any more questions?
Yes, I have one from the Facebook Live. Someone wants to know, if you were president, how would you handle all of this wealth?
Well, if I were president, I'd probably be doing and saying the same things that I'm saying now. You have to bring the experts. You have to look for our brothers and our sisters, and that gentleman, Kaieteur, said that. He said Kaieteur went and took the opposition minister and sent the minister Motley to go bring all the Trinidadians from all around the world who has the intelligence and the expertise in the natural gas and oil sector to come to Trinidad to sit down and let us put together a team that can really work for the benefit of that country. And that is what Guyana needs to do. I don't need to do that. Our leaders need to do that. Our leaders need to look for people and bring them here to look out for us rather than look out for the oil companies. But instead, our leaders is sending home. They just send home Vincent Adams, the head of the EPA. They look a man like Jan Mangal. They should have had him here. All these people, all these oil exports should have been here. Anthony Paul should have been here already. All these people from Trinidad, bring them from Trinidad. They will look out for our interests, like what Kaieteur said there. Instead, where are we? We are sending the people away and keeping. We have ministers in government doesn't know the difference between a block and a well. Government ministers. You ask them about the Payara, this type of block, and they're talking about the well. That's how dumb they are. That's how incompetent they are. And of course, while some are incompetent, some are corrupt. They're smart, but they're corrupt. So that's where we are. That's my answer to that question.
All
yes,
right.
Okay, I have a comment to read. A person said, getting our wealth starts with the cleansing in our leadership. We the citizens have a say, but these people do not listen because their pockets are being filled to ignore us. What is your comment on that?
Well, it's the same thing I'm saying. If they're corrupt, if you have corrupt leaders, they will not work in the country's benefit. They will not. Because, and if you see what's happening, it's clear that they are signing away and signing away and signing away, and what is coming to us? Nothing. We have gotten nothing so far. A matter of fact, I talked to a gentleman this morning, and the guy says, do you know that the oil rigs out there, where they're getting their fruits and vegetables from? Trinidad. Trinidad is supplying them there, fruits and vegetables. What is our leaders doing? I don't think they even care. We should have had fast lands already, and tell Guyana, instead you go plant rice and set up billions in tractor and skeleton plant fruits and vegetables, rear animals. They need lots of beef out there. Instead, they're importing these things from Trinidad. So you see, you understand what I'm saying? That is considered local content. That's part of local content. That's how we should have been benefiting. You should have got 10-acre land planting Baji. This one should have been planting Bora. This one should be planting okra, and supply. Supply to a factory that supplies to them out there. Instead, they're importing from Trinidad. So this is the kind of, this is the way our leaders are seeing the industry. Hence I says that and many of them doesn't understand business. Some of them never run a cake shop. And you put them there to run a multi-billion American dollars companies. So the oil company, them realize, and they know who they're dealing with. You're dealing with a set of morons. So they throw little chicken feed at them, they snatch it up, and they're good to go. Not realizing what they're doing to the nation. You're creating more thieves and more wolves in this land. Yeah?
Mr. Lall, I wanted to make a comment when you spoke about the incompetence or the ignorance of our leaders. I remember a quote that used to make the rounds on Facebook, and in it was the opposition leader, Mr. Joseph Harman, calling Payara a block. And in that very press conference when he made that statement, he was talking about how after the PPP had approved the Payara project, that the PPP government did not secure better terms than the Stafford Block Agreement. So when I listened to the opposition leader during this press conference, it was so disgruntling because you hear the ignorance of a person who was in a position of power
the leader
under the former government. Mr. Harman was the Minister of State, arguably one of the most powerful persons in the country under the APNU-AFC government, at the Ministry of the Presidency, which had responsibility over the Department of Energy. And for Mr. Harman to speak and display such an ignorance about the issues, it does not make me feel secure in the management of the oil sector at all.
Lovely, lovely, Kemol. I didn't even know it was Harman.
Yes, that was Harman.
Who didn't know that Payara wasn't a block and was a well. But it's sad. It's really sad. It's sad to hear him saying that the PPP did worse. Wow. When the PPP signed that contract was since 1999. And if people, Guyana, in 1999, when the PPP would have signed that Exxon contract, it was the way the oil sector used to do business in the world. It was a norm. It's a chance. When oil company come to your country and not certain, they come and they say, listen man, I just want to do something here. If I find, the normal thing in the world is that we give you 1%, and then we tell you how much we find, and then we can renegotiate and stuff like that. So from 99, and they accepted it. It was accepted around the world. So they accepted because you were hungry anyway. You didn't. You have you. It's better somebody come and find something and give you something. So they settled for that. But in 2015, when they found oil, the PPP did not renegotiate. It wasn't the PPP that renegotiated the deal. It was harming them and threatening them renegotiate the deal. Now, knowing that you find oil, right? Then, because they only announced that days before election, knowing that you find oil, it was incumbent upon you to say, hey, all right, well, you're fine now. Now worry about 1%. Come talk to me now. Tell me, the world accepts 5, 10, 15, 30%. What are you giving us? The people harming them get 2%, and they're proud and happy to say, well, have we moved from 1, have we get them to 2? It's like, this thing is so sickening sometimes. You don't know what goes through my thoughts and my mind when I listen to some of them, the words that come out their mouth as to the deal they get. They're so proud in getting 2%. 2%, not even 2%. Transportation comes out of that, out of royalty. Nothing comes out of royalty, but we have a cost with that. And these morons telling us, well, it's the PPP, and we move it from 1, PPP give 1, and we came to 2. When the morons them could have collected at least, like Suriname just gets 6.25%, plus profit sharing, plus taxes. Man, Suriname get 30. Suriname total take on their oil blocks alone ended up at 37%. What Guyana get? What Guyana get? I even say it back again. And guess what? The PPP, the PNC, they have new blaming this one, and this one blaming that one, and the blame game continues. And guess what the AFC saying? Nothing. Nothing. So this is the sellout. This is the giveaway. But and what's happening to your wealth, Guyana? Blame game. They don't care to study and to understand, the way we go about our business. That hey, this wealth here we need to understand, we need to know, so that we can make proper deals that will benefit Guyanese in general. They don't give a shit. They don't care. Yeah.
So as we wind down to the last few minutes of the program, Mr. Lall, I have one last question for you. Someone would like to know if Guyana will ever benefit or get a better life from the oil.
The way the contract is structured, what we would have signed on to, if we don't get some of these provisions changed, if we don't get a better deal, no, Guyana will get nothing. And I'll tell you why Guyana wouldn't get nothing. The few cents that will come will be able to change a few lives. And that is the line. A lot of politicians have been wants us to believe. What they go out there and spoo. Oh, well, Glenn, now it's only 120 barrel. But when they move up to 1 million barrel per day, money gonna come in. I don't want money coming for 1 million barrel per day. I want money to come in for each barrel that come in. If you get 2%, it's the same 2% you'll get for 1 million barrel. So if you used to get $2, you'll get $20. $20 will change a few people's lives in this country, but it's nothing. We're not the wealth we have here. I want them to know that it will change lives, not only ours, but future generations too, if we get a better deal. So the question there is that if you don't change the contract terms, and if you don't change the provisions that is in these contracts that is holding us down, that is giving us cents rather than pennies, no, lives will not change. Man, our life should have been changed already. And I keep saying this. Had we gotten a proper signing bonus, our lives would have been changed. Had we gotten a production bonus, life would have changed. But we got nothing. Instead, the 18 million cent what they collect, the US dollar they collect, they try to hide it for me. Jordan try to hide it. When you ask Jordan, when the report asked Jordan, did you collect 20 million signing bonus? He said no. When he was pressured after and questioned after, weeks after, he said, well, we collect 18. But why you didn't answer the question when we asked about, he said no. No, the question was if I collected 20 million, not 18 million. And this is the games the politicians play with us. You hear what he said? If you'd asked 18, he would have said yes. But you asked 20, so he said no. All the games, all the hiding and trickery they're playing with you. And all they do, dance with words and dance with sentences. Hence I'm saying, when you listen to these leaders, Guyana, don't believe what they're saying. Don't believe a sentence. And I'll tell you this. As for Lall sitting here speaking to you, my brothers and sisters, I don't believe a single word from any one of our politicians. Not a word. I'm not talking about a sentence. I'm talking about a word. Don't believe them. They're all misleading. They're all sending you the wrong vibes and wrong messages. All they come with fancy, flowery words that will make you feel nice and happy and send you with a smile. No, you will go with that smile, but when you reach home, tears will take your eyes.
I believe that we can get a renegotiation of the contract, but as it is right now with our leaders, I don't think I have found one of them who has the political will and the courage to stand up to the oil companies and say, I will not take your presence, I will not allow you to embellish me or whatnot. The political will and courage that I'm talking about, I think I saw it once when I went to Trinidad earlier this year with my colleague Kiana, and we saw Mr. Keith Rowley. And we've been reporting for a while how Mr. Rowley stood up to oil companies. And I have been piercing my mind trying to find if I can see a parallel in Guyana, that a leader that I can depend on to have that political courage. I wish that we had a leader here with that sort of will to stand up to the oil companies. It's only when we get someone like that that we'll get a proper contract.
Kemol, I beg to disagree with you on that one. I believe we have leaders here. It's just that we have to spook them up a little. I believe we have leaders. You know, I think, and I hope, and I pray, and I believe that we will get a change. We have to get a change. Somebody will stand up and say, no, no Exxon, no Shell, no CNOOC, no oil companies, you cannot do Guyana that. And I'll end by saying, your time up, I'll end by saying what two Exxon Mobil executives told me. Glenn, don't blame us. And the question I asked them, if you guys don't have shame. Shame in the sense that we are just a few people in this country. We are not 30, 40, 90 or 180 million people. We are just a few people in this country. And the wealth we have should have been giving us so much of a beautiful life. What's happening? You guys don't have children? And they both said to me, Glenn, you should ask your leaders if they don't have shame. I end with that. Good night,
there you
Diana.
have it.
It was beautiful talking to you. Never mind, I was abandoned. But
You were not abandoned.
I hope I'm back here Friday to be with you so we can continue this discussion and this frankness of telling you as it is. Good night once again.